For more than 3 years, Vladimir Putin has projected confidence, massive military parades, nuclear threats, promises of victory. But behind the carefully staged image of strength, cracks are beginning to show. Russia's battlefield advances have slowed to a crawl. Its economy is straining under sanctions and war costs. Drone attacks are now reaching deep into Moscow itself. And according to one of Europe's top intelligence chiefs, Putin may be running out of time. Because for the first time since the invasion began, the Kremlin may soon lose the ability to negotiate from a position of strength. Inside a heavily guarded intelligence headquarters in Tallinn, Estonia, one man spends his days studying Russia's next moves. Kaupo Rosen, head of Estonia's Foreign Intelligence Service, has spent years monitoring the Kremlin from one of NATO's most strategically important front lines. And his latest assessment is striking. He believes the next 4 to 5 months could become a turning point in the Ukraine war. Not because Ukraine is about to launch a massive breakthrough, but because Russia itself is beginning to face mounting pressure, militarily, economically, and socially. And time, Rosen says, is no longer on Putin's side. At the start of the war, many expected sweeping offensives and rapid territorial gains. But today, the battlefield tells a very different story. Russian troops are still advancing in some areas, but at an extraordinary cost. According to analysts, Russian forces advanced an average of just 70 meters per day over a 2-year period. 70 meters. That's less than the length of a football field. And the human cost has been staggering. U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio recently claimed Russia is losing between 15,000 and 20,000 soldiers every single month, killed in action, not wounded, dead. Ukraine says more than 35,000 Russian soldiers were killed or severely wounded in April alone. Those figures cannot be independently verified, but even conservative estimates point to enormous losses. And according to Rosen, the Kremlin knows it. He says officials inside Moscow are no longer talking about total victory. Instead, they recognize the battlefield situation is deteriorating. One reason the front lines have frozen is the rise of drone warfare. This war is no longer dominated by tanks alone. Now, cheap explosive drones hunt soldiers, vehicles, supply convoys, and even cities from the sky. Both Russia and Ukraine have transformed into drone warfare superpowers, and the technology is changing the battlefield faster than military strategists can adapt. Rosen says neither side can currently achieve the kind of massive mechanized breakthrough that once defined modern warfare. Every movement is watched, every vehicle is vulnerable, every offensive becomes deadly. Ukraine now claims its interceptor drones are increasingly successful at stopping Russian Shahed drone attacks. According to Ukrainian officials, the percentage of Russian drones intercepted by drone-on-drone combat has doubled in just 4 months. The future of warfare is unfolding in Ukraine in real time, and it's turning the battlefield into a brutal stalemate. But perhaps the Kremlin's greatest challenge isn't happening on the battlefield. It's happening inside Russia itself. To fully capture eastern Ukraine's Donbas region, one of Moscow's primary war goals, Russia may need another major wave of mobilization, hundreds of thousands more troops. But that creates a dangerous dilemma for Putin, because the last partial mobilization in 2022 triggered panic across Russia. Protests erupted, thousands fled the country, public anger surged, and today, the Kremlin appears deeply afraid of repeating that chaos. Rosen says Russian leaders are very concerned about internal stability and monitor public sentiment closely. That fear matters, because authoritarian systems often appear stable until suddenly they aren't. Then there's the economy. For years, Russia managed to keep its wartime economy functioning despite sanctions. Oil exports continued, factories expanded military production, and massive state spending kept industries alive. But now, the pressure is building. Russia recently slashed its economic growth forecast from 1.3% down to just 0.4%. Officials cited labor shortages, rising government spending, and Western sanctions. Meanwhile, Ukraine's Kremlin's long-range drone campaign is inflicting serious damage inside Russia itself. Oil refineries, pipelines, export terminals, critical infrastructure worth billions of dollars has been targeted hundreds of miles from the front lines. And increasingly, ordinary Russians are beginning to feel the war directly. Drone attacks on Moscow, once almost unimaginable, are becoming more frequent. The psychological effect is significant. For years, the Kremlin kept the war distant from daily life for most Russians. Now the war is coming home. But another long-term problem is beginning to emerge beneath the surface. The soldiers returning from Ukraine. Rosin warns that many veterans are bringing back trauma, violence, and instability into Russian society. Some struggle with severe psychological problems. Others reportedly drift into organized crime groups. A study by the Center for Strategic and International Studies estimated that returning Russian soldiers had already killed or injured more than 1,000 people inside Russia. Wars don't only destroy battlefields, they reshape entire societies long after the fighting ends. And the Kremlin may soon face the consequences of militarizing an entire generation. Inside Putin's inner circle, there were signs of growing paranoia. Security around the Russian president has reportedly tightened amid rumors of coup fears and elite instability. The Kremlin still controls the media, the security services still suppress dissent, and there are few signs of mass protests. But Rosin offers a warning familiar to students of history. Systems like this can appear solid on the outside while becoming hollow within. And when change finally comes, it often comes suddenly. The Soviet Union collapsed far faster than most experts predicted. Few saw it coming. That historical memory still hangs over Russia today. So, what options does Putin have? Rosin believes the Kremlin will continue trying to grind down Ukraine through attrition. That means more missile strikes, more drone attacks, more attempts to make winter unbearable for Ukrainian civilians. And if military victory becomes impossible, Moscow may shift even harder toward political warfare, trying to weaken Ukraine internally and eventually install a more pro-Russian government in Kyiv. Because for Putin, Ukraine is no longer just a geopolitical issue. It has become ideological, a central part of his legacy, his worldview, and perhaps even his survival. That makes compromise extremely difficult. What makes this moment so dangerous is that both sides still believe time can work in their favor. Ukraine hopes sanctions, economic pressure, and military exhaustion will eventually weaken Russia. The Kremlin hopes Western support for Ukraine will fade first. Meanwhile, the war continues consuming lives, money, and global stability. And now, according to European intelligence officials, the pressure inside Russia may finally be reaching a critical stage. Not collapse, not revolution, but strain. The kind of strain that slowly weakens even powerful states from within. For years, Vladimir Putin presented the Ukraine war as proof of Russia's resurgence, a demonstration of strength against the West. But today, the battlefield is stalled, the economy is tightening, and the costs of war are beginning to spread through Russian society itself. The Kremlin still has immense power, but power under pressure can become unpredictable, and the next few months may determine whether Putin can still shape the outcome of this war on his own terms, or whether events are beginning to shape him instead. Do you think Russia can sustain this war long-term, or is the pressure finally catching up to the Kremlin? Let us know in the comments below. And if you enjoyed this breakdown, subscribe for more deep dives into geopolitics, military strategy, and the global power struggles shaping the future.